I must be someone who just doesn't respond to anything anymore. Fat loss, building muscle. I don't know what macros I should be following. What should I do for fat loss? What should I do for maintenance? Hello, and welcome to 100% Real with Ruby. Today is going to be all about how do you know what your macros are? How do you know what your maintenance is? How do you know where to start out? I got quite a few questions after my maintenance podcasts on what should be their maintenance. The trap that many women are in a suppressed maintenance. What they maintain their bodies on is much lower than what it technically should be. Which, for many people that don't have a lot of weight to lose, or if you have been doing this for longer than a year, and by doing this, I mean doing it properly, then your maintenance calories should be around 32 times your body weight in kilos or 14 and a half times your body weight in pounds. And many women don't find themselves there. For example, if you are, I'm going to say 70 kilos and we have about 32, your maintenance calorie should be around 2,200 on average. So if you're around 154 pounds, that's where you should be. If you're 160 pounds, you should be around 2,300-ish. But this is just as good as me saying, go find a macro calculator. And you know my stance on macro calculators. They are mostly inaccurate and only give you a rough estimation that can be far from your reality. They don't consider your starting point, your diet history, your exercise, your lifestyle, your body fat percentage, your current nutritional habits. They don't know your metabolic flexibility. Going off a macro calculator or just getting a set of macros from a coach or just being given any plan from a coach without the actual coaching isn't teaching you anything. I used an analogy. If you're playing a piano or a guitar and you get given a song, you can easily copy the chords, voila. But that doesn't mean you know how to play a guitar, play a piano. I am just as good at like following the chords and maybe trying to play something in between to pretend that I know how to play guitar, but it sounds like my guitar's out of tune. And that's where a lot of women fall off. You can follow a diet or you do all the habits inside of a deficit. But outside of that, that's where you get lost. And that is why you find yourself in this pickle where you're either losing or gaining weight. You never feel like you can trust the process you're on. You don't believe that there's a path forward. There's just no clarity, no direction. That's why my clients succeed so much, because when they give themselves a chance to go all in and we start talking about the things that matter, until we can understand that this is something that we're going to have to do for life and we need to learn how to, like, imagine yourself when you're 75 or 80. Do you still want to be obsessed around the same things, stressing around the same things? Because that's what it's going to look like. In fact, you probably won't even get a chance to be obsessing over it. You're too busy trying to now fight for your health. That sucks. If you're a mother listening to this, investing in being the strongest, most healthy version of yourself, being a positive role model through your actions, not through just what you want to teach them, like loving their bodies, but actually loving yours and having them witness it of their own is going to make a world of a difference. My mother makes me just sad whenever I see her. I'm just noticing as metabolic issues, health issues. And I sneakily looked at a blood test and like there's these things that really impact me so much because I have such a close relationship with my parents. Learning how to eat is more than just tracking macros. Knowing where to start navigating this health and fitness journey is so important. I don't want to track forever, but I don't trust myself not to. I'm just going to list out some things that I've written down from conversations that I've had over the last couple of weeks. That's one of them. Macros confuse the hell out of me. I just want to know what to eat. I hate thinking about food too much. I hate being hungry all the time, but I also think that I'm eating too much. I keep doing these different macro checks and calculators, but they're all different. I don't know what's right, what's wrong. What am I meant to do? I came back from a dietitian who told me that I should be eating 1,650 calories a day, 90 grams of protein. I feel weak and I'm not recovering. I don't even know what my maintenance is anymore. Lower calories one day, trying to stick to 1600, but then they found it really difficult to control their food and track it all the next day. We got into different restaurants. They didn't know how to track it. And then I asked, what do you do then? I guess it, but I don't even know where to start. Then there's the cravings, the emotional eating, trying to cut out sugar, trying to detox, cutting out carbs before certain events to try to look leaner, try to de-bloat. Like there's so many different things that can leave you confused. But the worst of all is when you're only eating safe foods because you don't want to track, it's too tedious. You never actually learn how to eat, how to nourish, how to make this something that's sustainable. So it feels like some sort of algorithmic or arithmetic punishment instead of actually learning to understand your body, what makes you feel good. Like I mentioned on the last podcast, you can't develop these habits in a calorie deficit. It is extremely difficult to try to form habits, to try to improve your eating systems, your systems in general, in a deficit. A deficit requires trade-offs, restrictions. It's more restrictive. That is why you don't live in a calorie deficit. That isn't meant to be sustainable. And we want to build sustainable habits before we do something unsustainable. So, what macros should I eat? Where do I start? And you've probably Googled this thing multiple times. If you've tried tracking before, you've tried macro calculators and you never actually saw the results that you want, even when you stuck to them, it makes sense why you might be tracking half-heartedly doing so, because it's really hard to give your full ass effort to something when it feels really difficult and really effortsome, but you're not seeing the results for it. Like I would burn out from that as well when that's been going on for years and decades and what feels like centuries. So I'm going to show you why that is keeping you stuck, as in trying to find the right macro split and what to do instead, because you don't need the perfect numbers. And if someone is telling you to do macro percentages, that's worse. You don't go by a fat percentage or a carb percentage of your total. Never do macro percentage splits. It's so inaccurate. I don't know whether it's still a thing now, but back when I started out, there was always a minimum fat intake that women were just slabbed on with. Like, you need to be eating 60 grams of fat. You need to be eating 70 grams of fat. Well, actually, no, it doesn't work that way. Anyway, calculators don't even know what your digestion is. They don't know what your stress level is. Although that doesn't impact calories themselves, it impacts how those calories play out into your daily life. If your sleep is shit and you want to go into a calorie deficit and you put that into the calculator, then that's not going to work out for you. Your metabolism is going to shrink, increases your chances of muscle loss, and it's going to make you really freaking hungry and crave foods. And you never really want to eat the things that you should be eating when you do that. They don't know how you respond to your menstrual cycle. That's another thing. And they also don't know how many times you've dieted before. When you click onto fat loss, you're just going to get a blanket number. But the worst part of macro calculators is that they don't give you enough protein. Most coaches don't even give enough protein. They are given abysmal calories. The amount of clients that have come to me from coaches where they said that they want to build muscle, the calories that they got given, it's like you can tell that their coach is a male. They think that just because you're female, you're meant to go by on tiny little calories, but it doesn't work that way. I know many females, me included, that eat a lot more than males. Sometimes that's the case. I was part of a Facebook group and I was shocked at the amount of calories a lot of the guys were eating in there. Like, this does not just trouble women, it troubles men as well. Just because we're different does not mean that we have to eat less calories. Many women should be eating more than men, like athletes that are really active, or women that have labor intensive jobs, women that are endurance athletes. I have a client on 3,400 calories because she is an endurance athlete, but she also weight trains. These are the different things that we have to play into account. And that's why this is so confusing. Having a coach is so important. So this is why it really matters to do things this way. Because it's just akin to asking, what weight should I squat? And I do get asked that question a lot. It's like, I don't friggin' know. Like, have you squatted before? Based on averages of a woman weighing X and being this age or whatever else it is, then you should be able to squat this. So go and try this. Well, I don't know what your experience with squatting was before. If you have the necessary shoulder mobility to even get your arms into the right position for it, if you have the hip mobility, it's like, okay, would my advice be useful to you in terms of what numbers to squat? Or should I be addressing other things to do with the squat so that we can get you squatting and building your squat up so that you actually have a runway for progress instead of trying to shove you into this is the weight that you should be using? And it's really difficult when there's so much conflicting information out there about the best way to squat. Like you need to squat upright, chest up. Don't have your chest up. That is one of the biggest mistakes. This is the thing. What do we do instead? I have a few questions jotted down. I get the whole 1500 calories thing not being someone's maintenance. And if it is, you want to build them up before doing an effective deficit. But if a client doesn't consistently and accurately track, like we know that most don't, when they come to you, how do you determine where to start them? This is where it doesn't come down to trying to hit a particular maintenance range. This comes down to you being okay with being patient in the process of building foundations. Because sometimes overhauling your whole diet isn't the place to start. Maybe trying to overhaul all of your meals throughout the whole day isn't the place to start. So a client came to me skipping her breakfast. She wasn't hungry. It's very random on how she approaches her day. At nighttime, she would have her dinner and then she'll get popcorn, a lot of food at nighttime, but she was never hungry in the morning. So where did we start? I'm just like, okay, add me on MyFitnessPal. All I want you to do is to just track everything in there. I want you to focus on tracking everything that you want to eat after dinner. I'm calling it dessert fuckery because it's not dessert intentionally for the rest of the week, or at least a couple of days in advance. That was what we worked on for the first week. The second week, we ended up tracking it along the same way. And this is the thing, like you need to have patience within this. If you go into this, focus solely on the outcome and the rush of results, you are never going to get there. I want to be honest with you because I'm not here to take your money. I don't want your money if I'm not going to get you the best result, not just get physical results, but to be able to feel like you're living life again, to not have this freaking obsession over absolutely every single little thing that you do. You need to have patience with yourself and reduce the expectations, the pressure. That no one thrives under pressure. If you think of MasterChef, but the amount of stress and anxiety, if you tested their friggin' glucose levels, their blood sugars, their blood pressure would be through the roof in that period of time. So that's what we did for the first 2 weeks. Then I asked her to come up with a meal for breakfast. I want it high protein and full of plants. I don't care what it is, as long as there's protein and plants. I didn't think that she was going to jump in. It sounded like so much fear to eat in the morning. But because of the way that I have the calls with my clients, I really resonate with their level because I understand that. There's a fear that, well, if I eat more during the day, then I'll still overeat at night and then I'll go way over my calories and I'll gain fat. That's why we had to build trust first within herself for logging the dessert calories before she ate them. She's like, it's funny. I found myself not really wanting to eat as much as I did before. I had to be a lot more intentional with having the amounts that I put in because I couldn't be bothered opening the app again to change everything around. It was too much effort. Then we did the breakfast thing. Asked her the same questions. I am not eating after dinner anymore, so that's a good thing. I don't even feel like snacking in the evening. So for me, consistently having something before I leave home in the morning and to fit in a good lunch would be the two things that I want to embrace to start with. Starting slow and not adding more and more just because you kind of got a handle of it is the key to success. Because you don't live in a life where the default is zen and calm. Like that is the rare. Things are always going to come at you. So being able to have a really solid understanding. What I said to her is, but that this is what we want. We want to build consistency at the strongest foundation possible. Then we can start to address it in more optimal ways. Like how can we make it better? Because I'm not improving these meals right now because it's so different from what she's used to. We're just getting these habits consistent. Once we have some stability, once we have some consistency and some self-trust, then we can start to improve those meals, improve those habits, and optimize on it. Standardize before you optimize has always been a motto for me. She's tracking all of this. So once we start to get an accurate representation, we start to have a lot more structure within our day. Then we know basically where her starting point is at. And the funny part of all of this is that it's not really your old maintenance when you start with a coach to do this. And I did get asked this from a coach. So if you think of this as not making progress, you are so wrong. But if you're someone that already has that consistency, all you need to do is now put it into an app. It just becomes about learning how to be a lot more accurate within that, becoming aware of the things where you may be going wrong or you may be missing out on things and just building on that accuracy and just tracking it. Or if things don't add up in your eyes, start taking photos of your meals. Start asking for second opinions. Get a coach to do that for you. Because there is nothing worse than staying stuck in the belief of carbs make me puffy, I'm intolerant to carbs, eating after 6 makes me gain weight. I can't track when I go out, so what's the point? When I eat this, my body blows up. I lose weight when I cut out dairy, gluten, and alcohol. I only see results when I'm on really low calories and low carbs. I just can't eat that much. Like, that is the worst place to be. So it's worth doing this. We need to get you out of this burnt out state where you've been trying to live on 1,400 to 1,600 calories for so long that you actually believe that that's your baseline. And if your digestion is wrecked, if you don't properly get hungry at similar times, if you're not pooping regularly, which is your detox system, if your body feels stressed, inflamed, puffy, if you feel like you gain fat when you should be losing it, or your body is just in fat storage mode, we need to build your habits, your baseline, and see where you are at in a framework that supports the lifestyle that you want to create, the body that you want to create. I heard an analogy on this in terms of business. It's like you want to create a business for the lifestyle that you want to live. Because if you don't want to be on phone calls to all these executives 24/7 and hardly be home, not being able to do XYZ, sacrificing XYZ, then that is not the level of business that you want to create. Like for me, I don't want to have to look after 10 different employees. I don't want to have to stress over other people that I then need to pay and then have all the extra stresses of payrolls and taxes and this and that. Like, that is not the level of lifestyle that I want to create. So I'm not creating a business for that. I'm creating a very interactive, integrative model one-on-one with my clients. I want to connect. I love connection. I don't want the extra stress. And the same comes with your diet. This is why baselines are so important and having a regular baseline, but it's for the lifestyle you want to create, realizing in this, you're not maintaining anything, you're improving. Your steps are going to become a lot more consistent. As you start to improve your eating habits, you're going to have more energy, you're going to recover better, your training sessions are going to be so much better fueled, better fed, better everything if your coach also helps you train for a physique and not just lift weights, not just follow a program, because they're two different things. Two different things. Most women get confused. How do carbs and macros work for you if you're over 40 or over 45? Perimenopause, etc. That can add a whole level of confusion as well. I hate how marketing has preyed on you in saying you're storing fat instead of burning fat when you're trying to lose it. One of the questions that I also got is perhaps they are truly under eating. How would you know if they don't have data? Most women think they're under eating, but if they were truly eating as much as they claim, they wouldn't be obese. And we know studies show the massive discrepancy on food and exercise reporting. And I think a lot of this really needs to be met with compassion. A lot of it also needs to come with therapy, in all honesty. One of them is a hard one because she is someone who has a rebellious personality. Everything, like, she knows what she wants because she's like, what I know about her is that she has an all or nothing mindset. And because her old coaches, she's been doing this for the last 45 years of her life. Well, she's in her 50s, so that's what I'm going to say. And she's just fed up of it all. So it's been a really hard process over the last 4 years of working together. And there was a point a couple of years ago where she admitted drinking to me. And then she admitted that she loves eating out. They're an eating out crew. So it's just working within that. But the fact that we can now reflect on what has been mentioned, what has been said, well, it's not that you're not eating enough. There's a reason why you're not hungry. You're overall in a surplus. It's just that there are some trade-offs you're not willing to make. There are still some things that are holding you back that we need to kind of hold hands together through and realize that like, I'm not imposing anything on you, but as long as you're aware of it, it's whatever you're willing to work through. But I guess in that process, kind of having you realize that it doesn't mean going without, it means just working through it and being okay with whatever that situation is. It's just being radically honest with yourself so then we can put changes in wherever we need to put them in. What are you willing to do? What are you not willing to do? That's what matters. Because we don't want tracking to be too stressful or you always falling off it. And it will be if you use that piano and guitar analogy of just tracking to hit macros versus learning how to eat. Because it's not just tracking and monitoring food intake, but it's tracking and monitoring behavior. Your daily routines, meal timing is important with this as well because it trains your body to know when it's hungry, when it's not. Whether you snack a lot, which typically holds a lot of women back, but many times you don't need to. Like I use that client as an example. Hydration, I already mentioned sleep. Did I mention sleep? Well, sleep as well. So these are all really important because when you improve your habits, your nutritional habits kind of improve as a baseline of that. And then when they're like, this is a steady baseline, although it might not be able to stay steady because there's always overeating at work. Like I have some clients that I've been helping work through emotional eating at lunchtime with the cookies at work, a lot of things around the lunchtime environment at work that have been constantly holding them back. Really difficult to stay away from the cookie jar when there's a lot of food at work because they always bring in shit. It's working around all of these things to have that baseline of stability because then we actually know where to work from. And this is why it's not always a case of let's just give you a set of macros. It's let's get you a system of eating habits and just get you tracking your food consistently and working through where you're held back. That's why this part is so important. This is more than just figuring out where you're starting as a macro split. I can easily do one for those of you who have other extra goals and you're already tracking consistently, but most people asking this question don't have the baseline. That's why they go into the calculators, or at least you don't understand how the body works. That's why you're trying to figure out what should your macros be. Because if you know where your macros are and you know what maintenance looks like, you know what this part of the phase looks like, then getting into a deficit should be pretty damn easy with where you then take your calories. Being able to sustain after a deficit should be damn easy because you know what to do with your calories. That is why I'm addressing this part of it. So I hope this is landing. I'm going to sum that part out so then I can move on to the next part. And so remember, your macros don't matter if your body isn't in a place to make the best use of them either, because you aren't what you eat, you are what you absorb. So if your digestion's a mess, and this is why we don't eat macros, we eat food. You need to be really careful with your food, like actual food choices. Because if your protein intake is made up of protein bars, protein pancakes, and protein hacks, your macros aren't going to work. If you're eating fake fiber instead of fiber through fruit and veg, your macros aren't going to work. If you're on low carb, your macros aren't going to work. If you aren't aware of where your fat intake is because you're not tracking all the fats, the oils, all this other stuff, your macros aren't going to work because high fat diets usually long term don't lead to the best physique outcomes, especially for women. So that's where we want to start. Trying to optimize without all of this, no point. Summing all of this up, is your body actually fed and is it functioning as optimally as it should be? Because that's where we want it. Like I mentioned, you have a steady, stable base of habits. And most of all, do you even trust your body to respond anymore? Because we need to build up trust before anything else. And this is all being done in a maintenance. We don't do this in a deficit. And like I said, it's building a maintenance for the lifestyle that you want to live. And in the process, your body will change as long as you know where to look. And most women don't know where to look because the only place we've been told is huge progress photo shifts, huge weight shifts. Depending on your starting point, you'll probably see a big shift in weight. Some clients I don't even need to put into an intentional fat loss phase when they start off with me, because they start off with me, like the ones that start off with me pretty overweight, they lose a shit ton of fat without even thinking about it. In fact, they complain that they're eating too much food, and then they start complaining that they're hungry because now the metabolism is finally firing. That goes back to what I said before. Your macros don't matter if your body isn't in a place to use them properly, if your body isn't functioning properly. So that's the recap there. Now, to sum it up so you can put this into action, I have a list because I have a whole guide on this. If you want this guide, DM me macro split on Instagram, transform x Ruby, because I have a whole split and I have this written at the end of it, which I want to read out because I think it's really important. But you want to be reflective with what you are doing. even if it feels uncomfortable. So ask yourself the questions on what causes me to overeat. What could I be missing? Are you counting or are you including your alcohol? If you find it really difficult to control your intake on a Friday or on a Saturday, why is that? Because I have some clients where I've had that conversation with. It's like it's not about trying to fix it. It's about figuring out why it's happening. What are you doing it for? Is it intentional or is it just overeating mindlessly? Or is it because you just want a release? And once you figure out the baseline habits that we now need to improve so we can get to a more functional baseline, go through the position of how can we improve this? How can we positive motivation? Not how can we stop this? How can we not do this? Don't do this. Don't do that. No, how can we do something a lot more positive? How can we start having you focus on strength? As an example of if it comes from the strength stuff, like I mentioned with my client, what is actually getting in the way? Okay, once we know what's getting in the way, how can we find other ways to fulfill that or whatever else it is? Because you don't need another macro calculator. You don't need someone to check your macros. You don't need whatever you think you need because I am guessing that that's what you've already been searching for already and it hasn't worked. There is something missing. It's just that you have a blind spot somewhere because it's not about numbers. It never has been. It's about how it all fits together in the context of your life and then how you move through it as a dynamic human, how you respond to it. And most of all, you need to feel safe. Your body needs to feel safe and you need to feel secure, not just with your tracking and with your habits and believing in yourself that you can do it, but yes, with food. But you need to feel strong in your routine and clear on why your body hasn't responded. And awareness is the biggest thing. It is hard to be aware unless we allow ourselves to open our minds sometimes and to realize that there is no shame in this. There is only improvement, and you can't improve something that isn't addressed. We're just going to keep trying to solve for the wrong solution, which makes sense when it's something easier to solve. Like a squat, it's so much easier to just add weight onto something versus addressing the technical issues with you're not getting deep enough. Let's fix that. Oh, but I don't want to strip some load off to be able to learn that so that I can get better results and actually truly progress and get strong because you're not getting strong if you're half squatting or quarter squatting. You're not getting a parallel and just adding plates on. You're not actually getting stronger. You're not actually progressing and you're not changing your legs all that much. And you won't be changing your legs all that much. And you're definitely not growing your booty. So let's strip it all back. Let's relearn the movement pattern and get better at that. And then we can actually add the load on and you start getting stronger and you start seeing progress in your squat. It works the same way. I hope this helps. If it did, my only sponsor is myself. So reach out to me if you would like some guidance with this. We can jump on a free call, have a chat, see how I can help you. Anything else, just shoot me a message on Instagram. I am here to support you. I'm here to help you. And I try to give the value where I can because it's never like, I want to help. I want to give you guys as much as I can. But the transformation is in the coaching. I believe that wholly and truly because I've seen it, I've witnessed it. I've told myself it was anything other than that. So my clients trying to Frankenstein everything together, but honestly, when it's pieced together for you and you have the support there, it goes above and beyond just what we have ever thought in the past. And this has been a long episode, so I hope you stayed with me. I love you all, and please, please give me a 5-star rating. I just want it so bad to just be at 100. So it'll mean the world to me. And share this with someone, please, anyone. I want to grow my podcast. I want this to be something that resonates out there so we can stop the bullshit and people starting to use AI to generate false information that just confuses you more because they use these fat loss burning pathways and fat storing pathways and inflammation pathways. It's bullocks, but I love you all. Thanks. Bye.